Right. Welcome back to Pine Tree State Restorations and the National NC-57 receiver. Now, I'm going to give you a little history on National Radio Company. National Company started in 1914 as a national toy company in Massachusetts, Cambridge, Mass. And then in 1916, they changed their name to the National Company. It used to be called National Toy. Now it's the National Co. And in the early 1920s, basically the birth of radio, they started making their own radio sets. Before that, they were selling radio sets from other folks like Drake. And they started making their own sets in Cambridge, Mass. This particular radio, and I'm a huge national radio fan, national radios. This is an NC-57, okay? One of my favorites. And this radio was made between 1948 and 1951 and was, I think it was, $90 brand new in between 48 and 51. Now, the cool thing about this radio is it's an AM and multi-band shortwave radio, goes up to about 35 megahertz. And when they come out with it, I think people were like, oh, well, I'd like to have a signal meter. So they come out with this here. Show you a little light here. This is the SM-57. And that plugs in the back of the radio. It's an octo plug. Okay, the back. And that was the optional meter for the radio. The meter is ultra rare. I mean, rare. I bought this radio from a guy in Sanford, Maine, and the only reason I bought it is because he had that meter. And I didn't pay that much. I paid like $1.50 for the radio and the meter. I'd have paid 10 times that amount for that meter. So I bought that, and he shipped it up to me. Thank God nothing got broken. But that meter, the SM-57, is super, super rare. You're not going to find one. It took me 25 years to find one. If you find one, it would be pure luck. If you can find one for less than $500, you better buy it because that's going to be a good deal. This radio here, when I got it, didn't work, of course. And right out of the gate, I noticed that the cord, take some light here, down in here, was bad. So I just grabbed a junkyard cord, it's a real short one. And the first thing you want to do on these old radios is you want to check that cord. All right. Make sure that cord coming from the back of the radio, there's no cracks or anything going on that could cause a short out, anything melted, whatever. That's the first thing you got to do. And then give it a visual, look around, anything loose, push things around, kind of tap, anything loose going on, nothing going on, look around. This one here is cool because it's unmolested, meaning it's never been touched. It's unmolested. That's all original equipment in there, which I'm going to have to change, but I like it that way because I'll buy a capacitor kit and change all these capacitors. And I'll check some of the resistors like this one, this high wattage resistor, and a few others. If there's some discolored resistors, I'll probably check them, replace them. Maybe this one right here. And if you want to get this running, the first thing you need to do is not plug it in, of course, is you need to clean these switches, okay? A lot of mechanical switches on these old radios. There's the band switch behind there. You can see it. If you get in there, you can see the wafer right there. All right. All that's going to be corroded and dirty, and it's not going to work. So before you start working on the radio at all, you're going to take some deoxit D5, and you're going to hit those. And you're going to work that in. Get it all worked in and everything dialed in. Go on the other side of the chassis. Let me give it a spin here. Go on the other side. Make sure you don't have any tubes missing. Make sure the tubes are in the right holes. As you can see, I've already checked that by wiping the chassis. I've checked all the tubes, make sure they're in the right holes. And I also checked the tubes, and I found a couple of weak ones, so I replaced them. All right. Make sure there's no surprises going on in here. Turn the radio back. Okay. And once you do all that and you look around, you don't see any problems, you clean the switches, you check the tubes, you can do this without a variac by taking the plug, turning the radio on, which is right here. Turn the radio on, plug the plug-in in, and pull it out real quick. In, out, real quick. Okay, in, out, real quick. That will send some juice into the radio, kind of charge things up, but not overcharge. Then do that slower, and then finally leave it in for about 10 seconds. If there's no smoke rolling out of it or nothing weird's going on, plug her in and see if you can get sound out of the radio, and then you can take it from there. And that's what I did with this one. I got it going pretty easily. But I don't want to run it for long with all these old capacitors in there. They're going to have to be changed. All these. I'll get a capacitor kit online and just change them. And when you change these, you're going to change a couple at a time. You'll change this one. It's pretty hard to get to. This one. Cut and paste. Cut, curly Q, paste. This one. Change 3 or 4 and stop. Run the radio. Because if you got a bad solder joint and you change all these, then you'll have to find it. If you change a couple at a time and try it and it don't work, then you'll know it's those couple you just put in. So you can go back and find out what's going on. So don't change too many too fast, is what I'm saying. If you look at this resistor right here, it looks shiny, like it might be getting hot. That's caused by the capacitors not working very good anymore. So you want to start changing that. And you can see the melted wax coming out of the capacitors right here, see? On that resistor. Because they're hot and they start to melt out. They're bad. They're going bad. So you got to change these, All these got to be changed. And like I said, do 2 or 3 at a time and you're golden. And then once you get the radio all done, you'll probably have to line it up, but you can cheat on that too. You can go to WWV on the dial, and if it's not right, you can use one of your trimmer capacitors. You can download the data sheet, one of the trimmer capacitors, and line it up pretty good by yourself on the top. On the cans, on the top side, the 455 cans, you can adjust those for loudness. You can get around it if you're really careful. Another problem this radio had, it's a minor one, is the speaker grill always gets dented in, right? Okay. Well, when I take the chassis out, I can flatten that back out. I can actually take this off, lay it on a flat piece of wood, and then smash it flat with another piece of wood, and it'll be fine. And then the dial right here. The plastic dial always warps on these and over time, and it ends up hitting the needle when you're turning the dial. It ends up rubbing on there. So there's a guy online that sells a brand new plastic for that. I believe they're like $15 or $30. When you take the whole radio apart, there's 4 little rivets that hold that plastic, basically just a dial cover on. And you can get a new one and put that back on. And it'll be clear and it won't be yellowed and warped and everything else. And then, of course, once the radio is out of the chassis, I take the whole radio out. I'll wax the cabinet and clean all the knobs and all that stuff and put it back together. The NC-57 is my favorite radio because it's not too big, it's not too small, and it's packed with features. It's got a VFO and the whole 9 yards. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, radios National ever made. Yes, National made bigger radios, the NC-400, the NC-183, 183D, and the NC-400 is the Cadillac, but you ain't going to find one. If you do, you're going to spend a couple grand on one that's in mint shape. That is a nice radio, but the chances of you finding an NC-400 are going to be pretty god darn scarce, let me tell you. They didn't make very many of them. They're very expensive. They use them in FBI field offices and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, the second best thing you can get is the NC-57, as long as you got the SM-57 meter. I think you're going to have probably the best radio and the most versatile radio you're ever going to need. But that's what we're doing today, and that's what we're working on today. And I'm glad. I hope you guys had a great Fourth. I know I did. I did a lot of relaxing, did a little yard work, just kicked her back, worked on some stuff. It was a good time. Worked on some trucks, worked on some cars. There is a possibility that I'm going to end up with the '67 Camaro by next Friday that needs totally restored. I'm working on buying it now. If I get the Camaro, it'll definitely be on this channel. It'll definitely be on here, and it's pretty cool. It's an RS SS 327 4-speed, and it hasn't run in 30 years. Been in the barn. So if I end up with that, you guys will be seeing that as well. But thank you for watching Pine Tree State Restorations, and have a great Monday, and we will see you soon.